What is up, family, and welcome back to Talk Data to Me, the podcast where we break down tech, power, and the systems shaping our future without all of the corporate fluff. Now, if this is your first time here, I am your host, Shahana Muhammad, and if you've been rocking with me for a while, you already know. We don't just talk about technology here, we talk about what it's doing to us, who is being built for, and who's being left out of the conversation. Now, is Black History Month. And for the rest of this month, I'm going to be doing something very intentional. Every single episode, I am highlighting one Black person who helped shape technology. Not as a fun fact, not as a footnote, but as a reminder that Black people have always been builders of the future. Even when history tries to pretend otherwise, it's never going to stop. So today we're doing three things. We're running through four major tech headlines you need to be paying attention to. We're spotlighting a Black architect of modern computing. And then we're closing with the CTRL ALT DREAM, where we zoom out and ask, what does all of this mean for our lives? Now let's get into it. So the first headline we're going to dive into is AI is quietly rewriting corporate power structures. Now, here's the headline nobody is screaming, but everybody should be watching. AI is not just replacing jobs, it's replacing layers of power. Now, what we're seeing right now is companies quietly using AI to automate middle management tasks, reduce decision bottlenecks, and then flatten organization charts without saying the word layoff. Translation: AI is becoming the manager, the analyst, the scheduler, and the performance reviewer. And this matters because historically, middle management was how people gained stability, built careers, learned leadership, secured benefits, and long-term income. So when AI absorbs that layer, the question then becomes, well, who's left with the decision-making power? Because it's not workers, and it's definitely not communities. AI doesn't just speed things up, it concentrates the control. So moving on to our second headline, which is digital ID is becoming the new infrastructure. So we're going to talk about something that sounds boring, but it's actually very, very huge. Digital identity systems. If you've been following me for any time, I had a series that I was doing about Black Mirror, and Black Mirror actually touched on the digital identity system, with its own little twist and with its spin. But what I found so interesting when I was doing research for that series, that these systems are actually being implemented in places like China. So governments, banks, healthcare systems, even social platforms are all moving toward verified digital identities, unified logins, credential-based access to services. On paper, it sounds efficient. In reality, it determines who can access money, who can receive healthcare, who can travel, who can participate in the digital economy. And this is why I brought up China, because it will be based off of a credit system, a social credit system, and basically how you are, right, will affect, like I said, all of your access to all of these different things that we currently have access to with no inhibitions now in our society. So infrastructure used to mean roads and bridges. Now it means servers, identity verification, data ownership. And once identity becomes digital first, exclusion becomes automated. Now, that's not a future problem. That's a right now design choice. So, again, the whole one of the premises of what I'm doing here is to kind of prep people for what they can expect in the very near future. We're in 2026. And as I stated in either last week or the week before this episode, the president, those in power who could regulate, who could implement policies, do not want policies or anything implemented while infrastructures are being established and while they're being built. Because then once these infrastructures are established, then they will implement policies. And why is this such a big deal? Because these policies may or may not be in favor of everyone involved, the common folk. So shifting into the third headline, the shift from apps to AI agents is official. Now, this one is subtle but game-changing. We're moving away from download this app, log in, click here, toward tell an AI what you want and it handles the rest. AI agents are already booking travel, managing emails, scheduling meetings, writing contracts, negotiating services, which sounds convenient until you ask, who trained the agent? Who set its priorities? Who does it serve first? Because when AI acts on your behalf, it also inherits bias on your behalf. This isn't about productivity. This is about proxy power. So just keep all of this in mind. I am pro AI. I don't just talk about it, but I use it in my creative endeavors. But I'm also a person who understands the negative implications that having completely, fully run AI systems and worlds, how that can negatively affect humans. And I want to bring awareness to that reality. Why? So we're not sitting with our head in the sand, but we're proactive, right? So the fourth headline. Now, tech is still moving faster than policy. I just said this. And finally, nothing new but still dangerous. Technology is outpacing regulation again. And I'm going to tell you, just based off of what I know, that's intentional. AI is scaling globally while laws are local. Ethics are optional. Accountability is kind of unclear at this point. We've seen this movie before with social media, data harvesting, surveillance tech, and every time communities are told, we'll fix it later. Later never comes equally. It never comes. So again, I hope to just open the door of awareness to you all's understanding of what AI is, how it will affect you now, how you can utilize it if you find it useful or helpful, or want to see if you can find it useful or helpful, but then also making you aware of the potential risks and, the harmful aspect of it. Now, jumping into the Black History Month spotlight, because history actually does matter. Today's spotlight is on someone whose work lives inside nearly every computer-based system we use today, and that is Mark Dean. Mark Dean is a computer engineer and inventor, and he was one of the key architects behind the IBM personal computer. Now, just so you know, IBM is still a major player in data infrastructure. So I'm going to make this as plain as possible. He helped design the system that allowed monitors, printers, external devices to actually connect to computers. That plug it in and it works experience, that's architecture. Now, he holds 3 of the 9 original patents for the IBM PC. Now, without that work, personal computing as we know it would not exist. And yet, most people have never heard his name. So why this matters today, when we talk about AI infrastructure, digital identity, and system design, we have to remember Black people didn't just show up to tech late. We were there at the foundation. Black excellence in tech, it isn't new. They're trying to strategically erase it, but nevertheless, the dream lives on. So, speaking of dream, here we go with the Control Alt Dream segment. Now we zoom out, where we pause the system, question it, and imagine something better. So control, pause. If technology is becoming the operating system of society, who gets root access? Who designs the defaults? Who decides what's efficient? And who gets locked out quietly? Now, the alt aspect is where we reimagine. What would tech look like if communities owned the infrastructure, creators controlled the tools. Automation restored time instead of extracting it. What if AI served human dignity, not just shareholder value? Now, the dream aspect is where we rebuild. Imagine a future where Black technologists are decision makers, not diversity slides. AI is used to heal systems, not harden them, and technology expands freedom instead of managing compliance. The future is not neutral. It's being designed right now as we speak. And if we're not part of that design conversation, we are being designed around. So here's your takeaway for this week. Pay attention to infrastructure, pay attention to who builds it, and pay attention to who benefits. And during Black History Month, remember, Black history in tech isn't inspiration, it's blueprints. Now, if this episode made you think, share it. If it made you uncomfortable, sit with it. And if it made you curious, stay tuned. Now, if you made it this far in the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I want you to comment infrastructure, because that is what's being built and that is what's most important. This has been Talk Data to Me. Control to pause, alt to reimagine, and dream to rebuild. Until next time.